Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's Larry Chang. I'm Best Center Manager. I think I've met nearly all of you through our past workshops, and we dearly look forward to getting back to doing those in-person events as people get vaccinated. So I hope that you're all well underway with that process too, wherever you are. We'd like to just start with a lightning round of introductions since we've got a number of people here, right? As you'll see on the slide, just please state your name, your school or company. We do have people from industry here, so welcome to any industry partners and your location, right? And well, I'm based at Laney College normally, working remotely like many of you, all right? And then I will just kind of hand it off to the rest of our webinar team here. Melissa, why don't you go ahead?
Hey, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're located. My name is Melissa West. I'm the coordinator of the BAS Center, working with a great team of co-PIs and staff, including Larry. I am also located at Laney College, currently remote, in Oakland, California. So we're really looking forward to this BAS workshop and what we can all get out of it. Ted?
Yeah, I'm Ted Walensky, co-PI for BAS Center. I'm out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, MATC, and instructor here. I've been co-PI since 2013. Well, actually not co-PI since then, but I've been involved since 2013. And so welcome. We hope this is a good kickoff to our BAS 9 workshop coming up this summer. And we hope you get a lot of good information out of this one. So pass it over to Robert.
Morning, everyone. My name is Robert Nyrenberg. I'm with Metropolitan Community College in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'll be kind of head of the workshop this summer. So I'm going to pass it back to Larry. Larry, would you call out for the people to introduce themselves, please?
Sure. How about you, Mr. Smart? Andy, you're on mute.
There's that button. Andy Smart, Wake Tech, Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right. Mr. McNabb.
Hi, Robert McNabb. I'm at North Shore Technical Community College, Hammond, Louisiana.
Okay. Steve Gooch.
Steve Gooch, Chippewa Valley Technical College, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Currently home today, but actually we are on campus full time. So.
All right. Kudos to your college. Yeah. Rafat.
Good morning, Rafat Sharif from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm teaching with Ted in the HVAC program.
All right. Next, Gail Alexander.
Gail Alexander. I'm at Cascadia College in Bothell, Washington.
Mr. Justin.
I'm Justin Herndon. I'm with Tri-County Technical College in Pendleton, South Carolina.
All right. Professor Crawshaw. Well, looks like maybe his signal glitched. We'll come back to him. How about you, Doug Marlowe?
Good morning or afternoon, as it is here in the Eastern Time Zone. I'm Doug Marlowe from Macomb Community College, located in Southeast Michigan, and currently working in the kitchen today. And it's good to see everybody again.
Trying to find myself here. Here I am.
Okay, back to Don. Hey, Don, you're on mute. Okay. Well, we'll circle back to Don again. Okay. All right. Jenny Brinker.
Good morning. Happy to see all of you. Jenny Brinker from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
All right. And a person new to me, Jorge Tovar. Jorge. Oops, okay. You're on mute. You see that mute button in the lower left? There you go.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jorge Tovar. I am with Dallas College in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. All right, next person, Mike. Is that Mike Laster?
Yes, sir, it is. I'm Mike Laster from Tarrant County College in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay, beautiful. All right. And then how about Frank Mruck?
Hi, everyone. Frank Mruck from Roxbury Community College in Boston, Mass.
All right. And next, Carlos Urquidy.
Yes, Carlos Urquidy, Cypress College, and it's in Cypress College, California.
All right.
Cypress, excuse me.
All right. Mr. Chris Miller, how are you?
I'm good.
Yes,
Can you hear me or no?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hey, my new audio works. Excellent. I was worried. I sent a text that you couldn't hear me, but Chris Miller, Heartland Community College. We're up to no good. We're near Normal, Illinois. I'd like to say my parents live in Normal, so I've finally got normal parents. And that's about all that you need to know about me. I live a pretty boring life.
Well, you keep things interesting for your students. That's what counts, right? All right. And then Reverend Bob Clark.
We got a whole room here. Chris Miller, my God. My name is Bob Clark from College of DuPage, and that is on the west end of Chicago, Illinois. Thought I had my video going for you.
Wow, look at you. I like the sporting of the facial hair. Well done, Clark.
Hey, you like my mask that I'm not wearing? I follow all the rules here.
Why am I not surprised?
You of all people should know better. Anyway, okay. How about Francis? And you're on mute.
Yes, Fran Raybuck. I'm out of Philadelphia here. I've taught at various at Thomas Jefferson University in Drexel, Westchester. And I am the associate editor for the Facility Engineering Journal. And I'm very interested in this group. We work with, I work with Agile Handler, another software company, and we do partnerships with various universities, Virginia Tech, Penn State, Florida International University, and several others in really the handover process in building information.
All right. Welcome, Francis. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about you, Matt Dunham?
Matt Dunham with Lansing Community College in Lansing, Michigan. So like from right here in Michigan.
That's a good way to kind of visualize. Yeah. Good to see you. Haven't talked to you in a while. All right. Robert Kroom.
Good afternoon, everyone. Depending on where you are, Robert Kroom down here in Atlanta, Georgia Piedmont Technical College. And unlike Illinois with Chris Miller, it's not boring at all down here.
Yeah, I should say.
Well, I'm glad to see we brought the big guns to the old meeting today. Well done.
Yeah, right. Let's see. How about Arnaldo Perez?
Well, hello, everybody. Arnaldo Perez here, St. Philip's College in beautiful San Antonio, Texas.
Very nice. And here's one of our industry visitors, Drew Muir of CompuTrolls.
Good morning. Yes, sir. Drew Meir. We're at Comp Controls Incorporated. We're a manufacturer of building automation systems, and I'm the CEO.
Welcome. All right. Welcome, welcome. All right. And then Jorge Cabrera. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, Larry. Jorge Cabrera here in Harlingen, Texas, way south, close to the border of Mexico, for some of you. So it's 11 o'clock over here, and I got my first vaccine. So,
all right. All right.
So getting better, but everything is, and things are not boring down here neither. So.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not. All right. Professor Hamilton.
Russ Hamilton from Cleveland Community College in Shelby, North Carolina. And we're back on campus full time, running as normal. Not boring here either with all the storms that came through last night.
Right. Yeah. We're always faced with a series of challenges, right? Okay. All right. And then Stephen Chow, way from the other side of the Pacific Ocean.
Hi, I'm Stephen Chow from Honolulu Community College.
Welcome.
Morning.
All right. And then let's see, Connie Keene.
Hello, I'm Connie Keene from Wake Tech Community College and Raleigh, North Carolina, and we are working on a new BAT NSF grant.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we'll kind of come back to that in a second. And Brad Prudell.
Hi, I'm Brad Prudell, professor, Sacramento City College, also a service technician at Solace Enterprises in the Sacramento, California area.
Okay. And is there anyone that I have, of course, accidentally omitted here? You know, the roster, it's interesting. You all kind of keep shifting around. So, oh, yes, in fact, there is. Professor Khan.
Hello. Sorry, we were in the wrong meeting for a few seconds, but we get there.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, as long as no one accused you of, you know, bombing them. All right. That's good. Okay.
So Jorge Tovar, did he speak? I didn't recall.
Yes, he did. He did. Right. So I don't see anyone. Oh, well, no, we have a couple who just joined. About Jim Horst.
Yes. I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Tell us what school you represent.
I'm representing in Delaware Technology Community College.
All right. Very good. Later, we'll get the puppy to introduce him or herself too. Okay. Alyssa Kay.
Hi, Larry. I'm here from Salt Lake Community College.
All right. Wonderful. And last but not least, our principal investigator, Peter Crabtree.
Yeah, hi, Larry. Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Crabtree from the BAS Center.
All right, very good. I think we've covered everybody. If we have any other, oh, wait a minute, we got one more hand waving. I'm so sorry. Yes, Mitch Harris, please.
Mitch Harris from Dallas College, Cedar Valley campus, Dallas, Texas.
Very good. Mitch, are you at the Cedar Valley campus?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Give our best to Ivory. All right.
Yeah, Mitch and Ivory, we're actually in the same college, Cedar Valley campus.
Right.
In Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
So glad to be here, guys.
Excellent. Excellent. You came out in full force.
Definitely.
All right. Well, with that, and if we have any latecomers, we'll try to kind of squeeze them in as we go. Right. I just want to tell the newcomers what BAS Center is all about. hopefully you all know by now, BEST is short for Building Efficiency for a Sustainable Tomorrow. We're funded by National Science Foundation through the Advanced Technological Education Grants. And, that whole initiative is intended to help community and technical colleges with curriculum and faculty professional development. Okay. Oop. Sounds like we're getting a little feedback. Sounds like we're getting a little feedback. Okay. All right. Well, now that we've gotten past that glitch, let's see. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, right. We are the only national center that assists with the development of commercial HVACR, building automation, and energy management programs across the U.S., which nearly all of you represent, right? So really glad to have you here. We're here to talk about one of those professional development opportunities, BAS Workshop. We've done a number of these. Georgia Piedmont, Metropolitan Community College. This one will be an online event, which we'll get into. And at any rate, if you have other questions about BEST Center, feel free to contact me directly, right? lchang@peralta.edu. And with that, why don't we move along?
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the workshop itself here for a few minutes. Sorry. So the workshop, the last workshop that we did hosted for the summer BAS workshop series was at Metropolitan Community College. And we took control of some rooftop units and did some programming to effectively simulate a thermostat. Well, this year, we're going to move forward with that kind of same, or along those same lines, except this time we are going to be doing variable air volume air terminal units. For those of you not familiar with these are the zone controls commonly used in large, medium, and even some small commercial buildings. The reason we're doing VAVs this time is last time with the rooftop units, we were focusing primarily on digital control, so just on-off sequences, because they were staged rooftop units. Now, we did get into a little bit of analog with some economizer control, but really, VAVs are a great way to talk about analog controls.
Hey, Robert, your sound is kind of fading in and out a little bit. I don't know if you have a way to...
Okay, I will try and speak up. Is that any better?
That works better. Thank you.
Not at all. So the VAVs, on the other hand, are almost all analog control. We have a damper that we have to modulate somewhere between fully open and fully closed. We're monitoring airflow. We're monitoring temperature. So there's a lot more going on with the controller. As a matter of fact, within a building, the VAV control program is actually one of the most complicated. It's almost on par with what you would find with a fully functional air handler or boiler plant or chiller plant. And depending on the sequencing of those large pieces of equipment, sometimes the VAVs are actually even more complicated. So it makes for a really good programming project within the building automation systems because it does cover on so many programming tasks and covers analog control and PID loops quite well. So those are going to be that's going to be the focus for our workshop. Now, as Larry said, it's going to be online. So how are we going to make that work? Part of it is going to be that you're going to have to provide some equipment, which is up next on our discussion list. But when we get into the workshop, we have a 4-day workshop planned. The first 2 days, or the first day is going to focus on the hardware wiring of the VAV, and is kind of an optional day for those who are experienced with everything. And kind of more traditional webinar format group conversation sort of action. The second day is going to focus heavily on programming, specifically using block-based programming in the Sedona programming environment. And then days 3 and 4 is when we're going to get into the actual project itself and start working with the VAV controllers, whether we already have them wired or we need to do a little bit of wiring to catch up. So, and once we get into those projects, we're going to break into smaller groups of about 4 or 5. Each of those smaller groups is going to have your own breakout room, and you will be able to, or you'll also have a team lead type position. Not that you all have to do exactly the same thing, but one person who is a little bit more experienced than the rest of the group, or at least in theory, to lead and kind of help you troubleshoot and walk you through the process. So, and we'll do regular check back sessions once we get rolling on it, about once an hour. We'll probably also highlight during those check back sessions programs that have significant updates, like Wake College, for example. So, questions so far? All right. Next up, we're going to talk about the hardware, and this is going to be Ted's section.
I didn't know I was going to talk about the hardware. Should I just pick up that sheet?
Yes, please.
I knew I was going to bring that part up, but yeah, I'll bring it up here. Yeah. Can everybody see that?
We can see your NSF logo.
That's it, huh? That's really interesting. What happened there? Ah, got it. Too many screens to look at. Okay, so just down a little bit more. So here's our list that we have for equipment, and I recently I tried to get a price for some of this stuff, and you'll see that off on the right a little bit. Getting some interfering here. So the prices you see on column E, those are from Robert. He had gotten a quote, and I just kind of rounded the numbers up a little bit. And we have done some digging a little bit more since then. We have some alternate prices or other prices. So you'll probably find the same thing, that when you work with your local supplier or national, whoever you happen to go to, the prices will be ever so slightly different. But here, this list here, I wonder if I can kind of make this a little bit different here. So you see a little bit more of it. Not cooperating. There, I know it's probably a little bit hard to see this way, but you'll get a better picture of it. We'll be sharing this with everybody. This is the full list. There's 11 items on here, starting with the relay, then the controller. We're looking at an Easy IO controller as the standard one that we're going with. And Robert will probably talk a little bit more about that in a little bit here. And controller and actuator. Or you want to do it right now, Robert?
No, keep going.
Okay. We have a thermostat, so that well, it's actually sensor, and that has a set point adjustment and override option on it. Duct sensor, of course, another relay. We have a mount for the first relay we had for a DIN rail. Power supply, small transformer, And the main item, the most expensive item will be the VAV box with reheat. Guest items 10 and 11. Robert had guesstimated those at about $1,100, $1,200. And I just got out a price from yesterday from a local contractor, and their cost for a 6-inch VAV box with modulating electric reheat was $700. So your prices will probably vary a little bit. We have the information of the links that we got the data from around here, so you can use those. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Robert and have him make some comments about the controller and how we're going with that.
Absolutely. So we are focusing on using Sedona-based program or controllers for this project. Where possible, we encourage the use of the EasyIO. In this case, specifically an FW-08V controller. That's their VAV controller. It has a built-in pressure sensor. That's kind of where the specialty with VAV controllers usually applies. Some have a built-in actuator. This one does not. And the reason we push with the Sedona programming environment is because it is free and open source. So the companies that make the controllers very typically provide free programming software. And it is a convenient block-based programming system, which is the predominant programming style for the HVAC industry at this point. The VAV box, of course, is the basis of what we're building upon. You only need one VAV box. You don't need multiple. The ideal is to have a VAV with some form of modulating reheat. So something that we can send like a 0 to 10 volt signal to, or I think 0 to 100%, so that we can have some real modulation control. If you already have VAV boxes in your labs, that's great. You don't have to go and buy a new special one just for this workshop. The one thing that we really hope you have is VAVs with reheat. One of the great things about the VAV box is until you try and get into a specialty one like a 120 volt electrical reheat, which is kind of where we went with this, they're pretty cheap. That $125 quote is for just a plain 6-inch VAV box with airflow measuring grid and damper. That's really the bare minimum that you can get away with this project. But VAVs with hot water reheat coils are very, very common and usually pretty affordable. So we've got some multiple price points depending on what you are capable of providing or what you already have. So if you already have VAVs, don't worry about having to get a new one. So one of the things that the other advantage to a VAV box is, especially these small ones, is if you only have a residential lab, you can connect a VAV box to a residential furnace and set it up basically the same way you would residential zoning systems, so that you can still provide the air for the system. You can still work through it without a whole bunch of expensive equipment like a dedicated air handler or rooftop units. And yes, absolutely. Mr. McNabb asks if a hot water valve actuator would be acceptable for this project, and yes, it absolutely would. So even if you can't provide any actual reheat, you can at least kind of fake it with having a valve actuator there along the side. So now the relays that we quoted, the EasyIO FR02 module and that IDEC relay and its base, those are only required if you're going to do some sort of digital control like staged electric reheat. The VAV controller, the FW08V, does not have dedicated digital outputs or relay-based outputs. So we have to use that FR02 module to be able to interface that way. Go for it, Peter. Oh, 2 other questions. Sorry.
Let's just go in there. The other board.
A question from Jenny and a question from Matt.
I see the one from Matt here. So yes, Matt, you are going to be able to work this project. You really do need to have it connected to some sort of air source. Now that air source could really be as simple as some cardboard boxes and a box fan. If you really have to push it, you can really run this on just about anything.
6 feet apart so we don't have to wear masks.
I'm not going to pretend that it's going to work amazingly in that situation, but it will work well enough for our purposes. And trying to find Jenny's question here. So will we need to pre-assemble the project if you're part of the day one activities? No. The day one activities are, at least on the controls wiring side, will be the main focus for what we're going to do, because we get to talk about device wiring and actuators and power supplies and all the basics that we will need. You will need to have the physical equipment mounted prior. So does that answer the questions so far? Those are great ones, by the way. Thank you. And yes, when you sign up for the workshop, the hardware list will be part of the email. Thank you, Carlos.
And Robert, I'm assuming that it's possible that, like in Jenny's case, there may be some pre-workshop mentorship to help her mount equipment and so forth. I mean, I'm sure that, and by the way, we do have mentors to help colleges who are less familiar with this. So they'll be helping you out, and there may be some opportunities, or there will be opportunities earlier than the workshop itself to help people get started. And of course, some people have trouble finding things. We'll be doing all we can to help you source the items needed.
Absolutely. As Peter said, accessibility is one of the strongest things that we have. We don't want to preclude you from this workshop just because you don't know what a VAV box is. That's not our goal here. We want to bring building automation systems education to everywhere in the nation, because the truth is it's needed everywhere in the nation. So if you need help with something, please, please, please do reach out. Somebody within our network will be more than happy to help you with it. If, you know, I will, if nobody else. So.
Robert and Ted, just a point of clarification about this equipment list and the total cost, right? What we're showing there includes both types of VAV boxes, and the final cost for most of these colleges would probably be less than that.
Absolutely correct, Larry.
Yep.
Our estimated costs total somewhere, depending on where you're purchasing from, a bit under $1,500 at most. That's assuming you don't have any VAV boxes in your lab already, that you don't have transformers, that you don't have any of these components.
Yeah, and the prices that I was able to get locally is more on your $1,100 to $1,200 for a full package.
And we will be providing you with vendors and price lists and so forth to make it easier for you to source the items. We have a couple of different vendors identified. One of the reasons we wanted to roll this out early is so that you would have, we felt that the funds required were very modest, and hopefully you haven't spent all of your instructional supply budget for the year already. So that's why we wanted to get started early so that you would have time to source this equipment. One other question I had, Robert, can people substitute Contemporary for EasyIO?
So that is Great question, Peter. So the Contemporary Controls is another company that produces a Sedona-based controller. And yes, you can do some substitution there. There are other companies as well that make Sedona-based controllers. However, we're going to focus on the EasyIO and Contemporary for this workshop, just because it's a remote workshop trying to deal with all the different brands that are available. Is a challenge that really is pretty much insurmountable in this environment, at least for our first time going around. So
all the fun out of it, Robert.
So we are focusing on the EasyIO and Contemporary controls. And I know for those of you familiar with the Contemporary controls, you're raising your hand going, wait a minute, Contemporary Controls doesn't have a Sedona-based VAV controller yet. So how can we do that? And the truth is that the major component that you need on one of these VAV controllers, if it will show up without the background running over it, is an airflow monitoring station. But all this is a differential pressure sensor. So if you have a 0 to 5 inch differential pressure sensor in your lab that you can wire up to any of the EasyIO controllers, whether it's an FW or an FG or an FS or a 30P, or if you've got one of the Contemporary controllers, same thing. You can use that differential pressure sensor and you can make that work for this project. So that may be another way for you to reduce the costs necessary if your budget is a little bit tight at this time. Great question. Thank you, Peter. And I think somebody asked it in the chat as well.
Rob McNabb mentioned that one of his students destroyed his only controller by Contemporary. So if you have the budget maybe to get a few extra ones, think about that.
Yeah, we'll certainly try to help you avoid smoking your controllers yourself in your lab, but you know, we all work in the real world with real students, and we know that there is no such thing as student-proof controls. So,
as much as we'd like to think.
Right. We do our best and we make them last as long as we can, but there are some really squirrely students, really clever students out there that just can find ways. Do we have any other questions on the hardware? Okay. We'll have a little bit. Oh.
Hey, Robert. Yeah. Have we mentioned a couple of the vendors who could supply these parts or kits?
That's a great question, Larry. So we do encourage you to work with your local control vendors as part of that kind of relationship building experience. But if you don't have anybody you're willing to work with locally, there are a number of companies that BAS Center has set up some relationships with. And because you're a BAS Center member now, you can access those companies as well. On a national level, we have Kelly, K-E-L-E. Some people pronounce it Keeley. They are one of our vendors that work with us. They do not have the EasyIO or the Contemporary controls, however. So keep that in mind. But you can get most of the other accessories through them with no problem. We also have more of a regional level. We have Cochrane Supply and Control Depot. Those are good options. We also have some relationships set up on a manufacturing level with Contemporary controls. And we had one set up with EasyIO, but since they were purchased by Johnson Controls, I don't know if that relationship persists. So Francis asks where our list of vendors is. And actually, if I can steal back the presentation here, Ted.
Yeah. You should be able to grab it now.
Excellent. So I'm going to just jump up and kind of steal Larry's thunder, because Larry's usually the one who does this, and show you. So this is the BAS Center website, bestctr.org. There's a link later on in the PowerPoint presentation. But if you look here, we've got a number of different links up here at the top. I'm going to point you at the videos and more later on in this presentation. But if we come into the, I think it's in the educator's work or the educator's toolbox.
It would be under, what are you looking for? The industry partners?
It is, yes.
Yeah,
There
right.
we go.
Mhm.
Right. If I could read, it would help. So this is our list of industry partners that we currently have: Automated Logic, Cochrane Supply, Contemporary Controls, Control Depot. Like I said, I'm not certain about the EasyIO one with their recent purchase by Johnson Controls, Honeywell Direct, Kelly, Siemens, and Triatech. And we are always working on trying to establish new relationships to the benefit of our college members. So.
And I think Triatech was also bought by Johnson Controls, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're correct, Peter. Yes. So whether that one persists as well or not, I can't say at this time. Somebody else might.
So I just put that equipment list in the chat, so you should be able to click on that and download that if you want. You know, Robert mentioned a number of vendors. The people who I got my quotes from, one of them is more of a regional outfit called Geothermal, which those in Illinois and in Wisconsin and maybe even further out might be able to get equipment from them. Then I also got a price from a local contractor whose name is Viron. They're pretty solidly Wisconsin and upper Michigan area from what I know. So anybody in those areas want to reach out to me and find out who I got the pricing from, feel free to do so.
I think Cochrane supplies nationally, as does Kelly.
Yep. And Control Depot. Mostly the control suppliers, I'm sure Ted's group will be happy to work with you no matter where you're at. Most of these control suppliers are perfectly happy to ship just as well as not. The only concern sometimes is if there's a regional-based partnership with their manufacturers, so they can't step on another company's toes. And I don't think we have that with any of the things that we're talking about here, but I could be wrong.
I know the VAV box quote I got from the contractor, Viron, they don't go outside of their area. So I asked them specifically if they would, and they said, nah, it'd be too expensive to ship it. So they didn't sound interested.
Gotcha. So for that piece of hardware in particular, and because Ted's right, it is a little bit heavy, about 50 pounds to 75 pounds for the size we suggest. You know, shipping might be not so helpful, but you can always work with your local mechanical contractors and find out who they're buying from, or if you've got a good partner through them, maybe you can buy directly through them.
I also know that when I was asking about the VAV box, I asked, well, can we get a 4-inch? And they said, well, basically the 4-inch is a 6-inch with a reducer on it, and that's it. So I just as well off to get the 6-inch.
Yeah. And you can definitely do bigger VAV boxes for this project. Again, we just chose the small one for price and adaptability reasons. If you've got bigger in your labs already, that's fantastic. Use what you've got. All right. So next steps moving forward. So we're going to be sending out an invitation to register to the workshop here soon, hopefully very soon. So keep an eye on your email box for that. And when it comes around, register. Also, go to bestcenter.org's website, our website, and head to the links and videos. And right up at the top, there is a link to our previous workshop videos. So you can jump on those and get an idea of what some of our workshops have been in the past. There's definitely some great information if you're completely new to controls, especially on the workshop from 2019. Brian Lovell, one of our co-PIs, did a fantastic 2-day intro section on that. And we've got a lot of video from that. And also then the second half of the workshop, which was the lab project that I referred to at the beginning with the rooftop units. So.
Robert, just to interject for a second to get some feedback, does anyone in the call right now feel like this is going to be cost prohibitive to source and secure the equipment required?
Yeah, it may be a little bit on my end since I just spent over $100,000 for my lab. So since I'm over the budget, I'll try to move some money around so I can have some in there to get some of the equipment.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Why do you ask that question? I'm sorry, Jorge, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, I just want to say, we're in the final stages of construction for our commercial lab. We should be having 8 to 10 VAV units. So I'm assuming that for us, for myself and Mitch, we should have all that is needed for that. I guess we just have to go through it and see.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And to the other question, I'm just trying to get feedback from the group. I'm not hearing people say that they think that it's out of reach. So that's the only reason I was asking. Yeah.
Because I'm open to donations.
Aren't we all?
Hey, Carlos, you can hit up Mount Sac, right?
Oh, good idea. No, I think we have most of it. I'm just trying to shed some light on maybe if it's a possibility to collaborate with other local community colleges as well. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially go steal some from Ramiro. He's got spare controllers. I mean, borrow from Ramiro. Sorry.
Right.
I'll permanently borrow from Ramiro. Thank you.
All right. Well, I mean, on that note, right, and it really just depends on your proximity to other colleges or what have you. Some of you may want to consider kind of teaming up for this exercise, right? So those of you in Southern California, right? So Carlos, if Lanny Richardson at Mount San Antonio also wants to be part of this, I haven't heard from him yet, but as an example, you two, might collaborate on it, observing all your COVID protocols or what have you. Something to think about.
I could take a road trip up to Chippewa to visit Steve and camp out for a couple days.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I think most of us will probably be vaccinated by, what day is this workshop, by the way, just for projection purposes?
That's a fantastic question and something that I forgot to put in the PowerPoint. June 1st through the 4th.
Okay. Yeah, because most of us will be vaccinated by then. We'll probably feel a little bit more comfortable. And so I'll hit up Lonnie and Ramiro because I think it'll work better with fellow instructors. See if they want to get on board. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure.
Without a doubt, use support groups where you can.
Right.
Yeah. Robert?
Sir.
How long will it last on June 4th? I'm due to go out of town. I know that weekend, but how long does it last on that Friday?
So the workshop itself will, each day we're looking at about 5 hours. So our start times are going to be seem a little bit late for those on the East Coast, and our end times are going to seem a little bit early for those on the West Coast. So we know we've got this wide time zone since we're not all sitting in the same place this time. So we're trying to kind of limit and focus our times.
And Robert, do we have time for you to quickly run through the agenda or just give us a high level overview of the 4-day agenda?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. So the first day, like I said, we're going to work primarily on the hardware aspects. We're going to talk a little bit about what building automation systems are, really get down kind of on that basic level for those not familiar with it. And that's also going to be our main help set time period session for actually wiring up the devices on your VAV box, so that we're not using the main body of the project for that fairly minor, shouldn't even be particularly time consuming project. But it's one of those situations where you don't know what you don't know. So that's going to be the focus for the first day. Second day, we're going to do a fairly solid dive on specifically on programming in the block-based system, some programming logic, applications of Boolean logic, where we can find different programming functions, and how the overall programming tool works for those not familiar with the specific one that we are using. And for reference, anybody who has done any block-based programming, the Sedona tool is very similar to everybody else's. It's, you know, kind of the square blocky style that the Tritium systems use, and Honeywell Spiders and the old Invensys TAC IA programming line. It's all pretty similar to that if you're familiar with any of those. But just like with any other software, it's kind of finding where the tools you need are as much as anything else. So we will also talk fairly extensively that day about the differences between digital and analog control in the modern age. I'm not comparing it to the old pneumatic systems. Don't get scared. We're not talking pneumatics. And application of things like PID loops. Day 3 is when we're going to do another or a brief introduction to the project overall, break out into our teams to work and do our check back sessions. That will be the focus of all of Wednesday and the first portion of Thursday. And then the end of Thursday, like usual, is going to be kind of our get back together and report out what we learned, what we found useful, what we're going to take home, those types of things.
Are we still planning to commission the work of each team?
We are. One of the last things that we're going to do as part of the project is we're actually going to mix up the groups, and you're going to work with a brand new partner that you haven't worked with before, and you are going to act as a third-party person helping them check out to make sure that all the basic functionality that we require via our sequence of operation is there. This is something that is very common in the industry. Within a company, we usually do it as part of the checkout before we show it to anybody else to make sure that we've proven that it works, at least to ourselves, and is one of many steps that is combined is the overall commissioning project from a third-party commissioning agent or an engineering firm. So.
Something I also would like to add is that you will all need to have your camera set up in a way in which others can see your work. All right, so whether it's the camera you're using right now or, you know, some other device, just, you know, again, consider that, you know, as part of the workshop preparation.
Okay, and that's an excellent point. Thank you, Larry. I had forgotten about that. Because we are going to be using Zoom for this workshop, some sort of webcam for the face-to-face type communication, and then some sort of external camera that you can turn around and point at things. For reference, the camera on your cell phone for this purpose can work fantastically well. There are a lot of apps on both Android and Apple that will let you use your camera on your cell phone as a wireless webcam to be able to you know, switch between camera views. And that is largely what we're going to rely on for when we're doing the wiring. If you've got trouble, if you're having trouble with something, we may ask, hey, can you show me a close-up of it? And some sort of functionality like that would be very useful. If you're working off of course, some sort of a tablet, you can always just switch to the back-facing camera or whatever works for you. For programming troubleshooting, we are going to rely pretty heavily on screen sharing, however, so keep that in mind as well. So Mitch asks, what about Friday? Did we already answer that one successfully, Mitch, or?
I think.
Well, I didn't hear criteria for Friday. I thought you ended on Thursday.
Yeah, 4-day workshop. So if Friday is not the 4th, then I thought.
Yeah, you went to Thursday, but you never talked about Friday.
Oh, Friday is a continuation project-wise of Thursday. So day 3 into day 4, we're working on the project, and then the final stage after we do checkout on the project is our general big group report back.
Okay.
So it's actually Tuesday to Friday.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, Tuesday to Friday. Let's see, we have.
And Robert, could you, so I have my own camera. You'll have to figure out how to tie that in so I can feed. And do I need any other camera devices in my lab so that people can see what I'm doing and so forth? Or
no, you don't necessarily need any other cameras active in your lab, just something so that we can look at if you're having an issue on the wiring side, on the hardware side, and possibly when you're doing checkout, the person who's helping you with that may want video evidence that your actuators are moving and things like that. But other than that, your basic webcam for the face-to-face, if you're okay with that, and the ability to screen share. So I've gotten a couple questions about if we already have one of the FG20 or 20 plus controllers, can we use those for this project? And the answer is absolutely. The one thing that you will have to add that's not on the list is a differential pressure sensor. But any of the third-party ones that you can wire up that are made by, a dozen different companies, the ones that are built into most VAV controllers operate at about a 0 to 2 inch, 0 to 3 inch of water column resolution, or range, not resolution, excuse me. And yeah, there are a bunch of apps, Carlos, to be able to do on the phone. Droid Cam is the one that I use because I work on Android. But if you just do a Google search of cell phone or smartphone for Zoom camera, it'll shoot you to 3 or 4 articles right off the bat.
Hey, we are right at 10 o'clock. I just want to, again, do a kind of last call for any questions before we just run through a set of quick announcements.
Go for it, Larry. I will.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, you can always get in touch with any of us with additional questions. I did want to put out a reminder that today at HVAC Excellence, right, that's the annual national conference put on by our partners from ESCO Group. Today they will be releasing their final set of sessions, and well, they are essentially recordings, and among them is the one presented by Robert, Brian Lovell, and myself, the ABCs of BAS, starting a building automation systems program. And if you're already registered for HVAC Excellence, I would encourage you to please look at that presentation. It gives you tips about what to do and what not to do when trying to set up a new BAS program. That recording, along with all the others, will be available for 120 days after today, right? And thus, you know, the beauty of these recordings, you can go back, watch them over and over. You may also want to use some of these directly in your classroom. I was watching one on commercial indoor air quality, covering some aspects of COVID-19. You might also be aware that's something we also covered in our annual institute recently. So just ping us if you know you need any other resources for your classroom. And were there any kind of BAS program related updates that people from our college would like to share right now? How about our friends at Wake Tech?
This is Andy, Wake Tech, and Connie and I are working the best we can. We've got a limited in-person this past couple semesters. Hopefully in the fall, we're going to be going back full time. So we've been slowly getting our lab constructed. We've got our air handler in place, some VAV boxes in place, and getting to the point where we're starting to wire stuff up. So slowly, but we are making forward progress, and we do have a lot of setbacks with trainings that are not available, so to be expected. But we are looking forward to a lot more progress here this fall.
All right. And for those of you who might not be aware, Wake Tech received an ATE project grant. That's from National Science Foundation to assist with their curriculum development in starting this BAS program there. All right. Any other BAS program updates? Robert Kroom, anything you'd like to highlight at Georgia Piedmont?
Well, we have with our air conditioning lab, not the automation lab, but with the air conditioning lab, we have a pretty big project going on right now to insert more commercial elements into it. Been working on that, as well as a big electrical upgrade for our air conditioning lab so that it comes up to the standard and the quality of the commercial refrigeration and the building automation. With building automation, one of the things that I'm working on as a project to now include lighting controls. Our college is going to be looking at a major refresh for the whole campus. That's one of the things I'm going to be doing, as well as some enhancements with networking and even a little bit of home automation that you might see in buildings. I want to have it where tour groups can come by and the college individual personnel that's doing the tour can, from his cell phone, turn on some lights and do some things in our lab, even when I'm not there. So I'm working on some things like that. And then our Living Lab Learning Center is a pretty major project where we're going to take a room and repurpose the room to showcase technologies from all three programs: the commercial refrigeration, air conditioning, and building automation. And one of the main things that it will do is we have 3 power meters that we've purchased for all 3 buildings in the rear of our campus. And they're backnet, so we're going to tile that into the Siemens controls that we've purchased for that room. We'll have 2 75-inch TVs mounted on the wall and have energy dashboards and things like that showing graphics of different parts of our campus and different labs. So make the walls glass, like what you see in Robert Nyrenberg's lab, so that one's walking down the hallway will be drawn in. So the idea is to really attract high-performing high school students to all 3 of those programs. So those are some of the things we're working on right now.
Wow, terrific. Sounds like maybe we should do a virtual lab tour from a variety of colleges at some point. And it sounds like a number of you are in the midst of some major lab upgrades.
Larry, it sounds like Russ just is going through a big upgrade. Can you describe that one, Russ?
Yeah, we actually got a bid on this week to install a whole system with small chiller and boilers and air handlers and VAV boxes. I'm sort of hoping that everything will be up and running by the time that the training happens on June the 1st. And that way I'll have my VAVs.
Mm-hmm. So you're building a whole commercial system.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a small one, but I mean it's gonna give my students more of the in-depth that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And also I don't know if y'all know that I became the department chair over 8 programs here at the college, along with teaching. So it's been sort of rough on me this year, trying to take care of 8 other programs in my program too.
Yeah.
I think they should make you dean. No, you don't want to go there, huh? Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Sacramento City College, we started a project 2 years ago, this coming summer. I had Train, which is an industry partner of ours. They custom built 6 VAV boxes for me, dual shaft. We'll have pneumatics on one side and DDC controllers on the other side of the VAV box. They are hung, they are ducted. Then COVID hit. The company that I worked for, Solace, I still work out in the trade. They donated time and material and came in and did all the ducting for us, hung them in a lab for us. But they remain unfinished. So hopefully this summer they'll allow us back on campus so that I can get in there and actually get the panels and the rest of the stuff hung. I need to get some conduit run and the sensors in, but they're there. It's a work in progress.
Very good. Wow. All right. Anyone else? Don, did you want to say something? Well, I will mention on behalf of Donald Crawshaw that he also has a session today at HVAC Excellence. I don't know the exact title. Don, do you want to share that with us?
It's basically, I don't remember the title exactly. It's basically an interview GW did with me for my new edition of the textbook.
All right.
Also, talking about a lab, you know, our current lab is off main campus, and we're supposed to have been moved over to the main campus this year, but the building they were remodeling for us caught on fire and burned down. So we're in the process right now thinking about this is a good time, since they're going to redo the building, to make sure we get a good BAS lab as part of the rebuild. I hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Larry, before we close, we might want to just review next steps with Robert and Ted. If there are, you know, we're going to be sending the hardware list out, and what else happens between now and June?
Yeah, the hardware list is already in the chat as a file. And Melissa will be in the process of emailing it out to everybody. If you have questions on vendors or anything that we got quotes from, just reach out to myself or to Robert.
Yep.
Okay.
So ordering the parts, heading to BAS Center's website and watching some of the previous workshop videos and checking out the other resources that are available there if you're not already familiar with them, and then watching for the registration email.
The other thing, Robert, can you just comment a little bit about the electric reheat? Having, when I went and got pricing, there was the choice basically of on-off control because of the size that I was looking at, or SCR control. And you had commented about how SCR would be the best because it's, modulating as opposed to on-off, or step for that matter.
So what's probably the more common control method for the electric reheats on VAV boxes is a staged control. So it'll be a high, low, medium type staging control, or possibly just a straight up on off. Either you have all the heat or none of the heat. The other option is, as Ted said, control via what's called an SCR, which if you think about it, it works very similarly to a dimmer switch on a lighting circuit. So that is the ideal. We're able to send that a 0 to 100% signal, and it can vary our heat accordingly. It's a much better simulation or equivalent to a hot water reheat with a modulating control valve, a characterized control valve, or steam if you are in a building with steam. So that is by far the better choice, but you can still make the others work.
I was told that to add that SCR option on was about $100 more for the cost of the quote I got. So.
And I'll tell you, that's really quite a fantastic cost for that add-on. When I've seen it in the past, which was admittedly quite a while ago, so the technology wasn't widely used at the time. It was much more costly at that time. So I think that personally, if you've got the $100, it's well worth the addition. If you don't have the money, of course, then it's not worth the addition.
Okay. One thing also I'd like to mention, I've already put it in the chat. Some of you were invited to fill out the BAS Center annual follow-up survey. All right, this is an extensive 40-question survey that is accompanied by a stipend, but that's really directed towards programs that have been with us at least for a couple of years and can demonstrate student impact, because that is one of the central outcomes of the NSF project and center grants that we're a part of, okay? I want to know how students are impacted at the end of the day. As an alternative, for those of you who, don't quite fill that criteria, we have our impact survey. That's a shorter one, all right? And that's also available for our industry partners to fill out too. There's a kind of a skip logic set of questions there depending on what role you play relative to our BAS Center network. So I'm really hoping that since I've got you here, if you haven't filled it out, if one of those applies to you, please, if you could address that as soon as possible, we would really appreciate it, because, we also have to begin our annual reporting requirements too.
Do you, Larry, do you want to ask Jorge Tovar about the Cedar Valley campus quickly?
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Would you gents from Cedar Valley kind of like to give us an update there? I know at one point you all were executing that living lab strategy, right?
With Maria Bocalandro.
That's right.
I think I did meet you a few years back. It's been probably 5 years ago since we started working with Maria. There's so many changes that the district is undergoing right now. I'm sure you're aware. We're going from the Dallas County Community College to becoming a one college from all the 7 different campuses that we have. So we're becoming Dallas College now. So there's a lot of changes going on. I'm not sure with that living lab would end up, probably need to wait until next year once we get back to normal, hopefully, to look into that with Maria. But on our end, for the air conditioning lab, we were, specifically residential. So the district invested, over $4 million for us to come in with our commercial lab. So we're going to be having VAV units. We have a VRF from Duncan. We have a chiller. We have a central air handling unit, boilers. It's going to be a really, really good lab. So we're excited to join this training. Specialists, we're going to be having those controls in our lab. So we need to learn how to use them and how to do the programming so we can teach our students.
Excellent.
And Ivory has attended the, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, Armstead.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do it at the college, I'm looking into probably bringing him in on board to help us with the process. So that would be a good approach to take with this project for the summer.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Well, with that, unless there are any other kind of burning messages we need to get out there, I'd like to thank you all for attending today. Hopefully this kind of helps fill in some of the gaps regarding this upcoming workshop. Definitely, please look into getting your equipment as soon as you can. If you run into any snags, be sure to get in touch with us ASAP. We want everyone to get their equipment well in advance of the workshop.
There's no cost for this workshop. That's correct. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
That is correct. All it takes is an investment of your time and energy. All right. Anything else? Ted, Robert?
Other than underline the potential lead time to get equipment, that's important because I know for the VAV box, they told me 4 to 5 weeks.
With the reheat?
With the electric reheat SCR.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you for all you do for your students.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.